I mean, it's all publicity. He wanted attention. I believe attention is mentioned. He knew what he was doing by saying it. He knew if he said it, he'd rise to the top, and it happened. Now everybody's talking about him like he's what on us. Attention. I believe attention is mentioned. He wanted attention. I believe attention is mentioned.
Yet another controversy for Kanye West, also known as Ye. Quote, "When I wake up, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people." His tweet continued saying, quote, "The funny thing is I actually can't be anti-Semitic because black people are actually Jew." He made headlines for wearing a White Lives Matter shirt during his fashion show in Paris. He called the Black Lives Matter movement a scam, posting on Instagram that the movement is now over. He also talked about race matters on Fox News Channel's Tucker Carlson's show on Thursday.
All right, so do you know about the whole Kanye West drama?
Yes.
How do you feel about it, my friend?
I mean, it's all publicity. He wanted attention. I believe attention is mentioned. He knew what he was doing by saying it. He knew if he said it, he'd rise to the top, and it happened. Now everybody's talking about him like he's what on ice.
That's very real. That's very real of you, my friend.
With attention, you have more of a reach. How can you reach stardom if you're not even the star? How can you reach stardom if you're not even a star? Do you understand? It's always been a thing for me, okay? My reputation perceives me, and so will yours. But if you don't have attention to your name, if you don't stick out of the crowd, they won't ever know who you are. How can someone go to someone and say that was such a good business idea if you're like everybody else? Hi, I'm Walker. Welcome to Walker Wisdom, the home and main channel of the Walker Wisdom Show. Now this is a Walker classic. Attention is mention. This is one of the staple ideas that made me the man who I am today. Many ideas came into my head when I was younger, but one of them was attention is mention. I cannot come up to you and give you attention in order for this to work. You have to create attention. You have to put attention on you in order for this entire idea to work. And as a kid, I understood that. This lesson is very important. Because in order for you to get anywhere you want in life, you have to, 1, act a certain way, 2, do some networking, get with some good people, make sure you have a positive reputation, and 3rd, actually, I was joking to you.
Bruh.
All of them have to do with attention. Attention is the first one. And then everything after is attention, attention, attention. When you see Walmart, and you go into Walmart, and you're in there for a long time, and you're shopping, you're doing this, have you ever sat there and wondered, how the heck did such a company become so vast in my life? When you look on your social media pages and you see an influencer that you like, you're like, yeah, have you ever wondered, how did he get where he is at? What got him there? What special things did he have to do? I'll tell you what. Attention. Now, you're going to have to pay attention to this. And that is this. I'm going to give you an analogy real quick. If you walked into a clothing store full of black, dark grays, dim colors, and on the stand, you see a neon shirt. Now, you may not like the neon shirt. It might not even be your favorite shirt. But you'd be absolutely lying to yourself if you told yourself that that did not stick out to you. And that is the reason why you looked at it. If anything, you're probably going to look at it longer than you did the other items. You're probably going to pay attention to it longer than the other items. And if anything, it's going to probably attract you in that direction because of its such a difference. You haven't seen it. Everything else around is so dim. Except we're not talking about clothes, are we? We're talking about people. We're talking about interests. We're talking about businesses. We're talking about networking. All these things add up. Every single one of them. In my very first interview I ever had, I was asked by the interviewer, Bean, longtime friend of mine. He said, what did I think about the Kanye West drama and the 𝗖cie stuff going on?
How you doing, man?
I'm doing amazing.
Hey, bro. So, explain to everyone what you do, my friend.
So, I'm a boxer, motivational speaker, and I'm planning to be the future face of stardom.
Ooh, yes, sir. All right. So, so do you know about the whole Kanye West drama?
Yes.
How do you feel about it, my friend?
I mean, it's all publicity. He wanted attention. I believe attention is mentioned. He knew what he was doing by saying it. He knew if he said it, he'd rise to the top, and it happened. Now everybody's talking about him like he's white on rice.
That's very real. That's very real. That's very real of you, my friend.
And my reaction to it was attention is mentioned. I genuinely believe that a lot of people who are controversial know that publicity is publicity. Whether good or bad, they know the end goal is for it to go everywhere. Whether that was his end goal or not, you can still take the lesson out of it that attention is mentioned. You have to understand that everybody was starting to talk to him around 2022 when he said the stuff that he said. It was controversial. It gave him attention. Not good attention sometimes, but it's attention. Now, that's not the lesson I want you to take from this. You can do that, but I'd rather you take this from it. With attention, you have more of a reach. How can you reach stardom if you're not even the star? How can you reach stardom if you're not even a star? Do you understand? So in order for me to have become the person I've become, leading so many people into influential subjects as I'm doing today, I had to get attention. Growing up, like I said, I knew this. Now I knew the lesson, but it also meant that I implied it. I applied it to everyday life. So what I would do is I would dress differently from everybody else. I wanted to be an entrepreneur, a businessman, which I was. I was running a business at that point called Walker Philanthropy Industries. In order to own up to it and have people realize that I was that guy who had that thing, I had to represent myself that way. So what did I do? I might have been a kid with nothing, but I wore suits. I dressed proper. I dressed nice. I had my signature sunglasses. It's always been a thing for me, okay? My reputation perceives me, and so will yours. But if you don't have attention to your name, if you don't stick out of the crowd, they won't ever know who you are. How can someone go to someone and say that was such a good business idea if you're like everybody else? I call it space monkey, okay? And that's a whole nother video for a whole different time. But that's what most people are. They're space monkeys. Now, you have to be a space monkey first in order to be someone who can control the space monkeys. Or let alone forget controlling them. Maybe you just want to advise them. Maybe you want to influence them. Maybe you don't care about control. You just care about the influence. Maybe you care about your business. Maybe you care about getting more viewers. Maybe you care about something, the network. That is what matters. Attention is mentioned. When you have attention to your name, when you are not a space monkey, when you are not black and white like everybody else, when you stick out of the crowd, but for good reasons. You can stick out of the crowd for bad reasons, but I prefer it be good. If you stick out of the crowd, you will be noticed. And when you are noticed, you are talked about. Like I said, that can infer whether it be good or bad, a con or a pro or something that is so detrimental that it might break your character. When people see something that they don't understand, their mind does so many things. One of those things is work it out, right? You see a problem, we naturally want to work it out, right? Now, most of us get a little built up and overwhelmed, so we walk away from it. Do not do that, okay? That might be what you're doing. You might get so caught up in playing this character, this facade. Don't play a character, don't play a facade. Be realistic and be real, okay? I've been down that path too many times, okay? Being arrogant does not help. Being confident helps. Getting attention in the right way helps. Now, it did work earlier in this little play zone, because I was playing with tools and seeing what I could figure out. That's a part of the process. But I had to get attention. Attention is mentioned. Talk to that business owner. Talk to the man across the street who you think is wise. If you want to become a veterinarian, talk to somebody who knows something about pets. If you want to become a teacher, talk to a teacher. Learn. Go. Obviously, you're going to go to college for this stuff. Reach out to the professor. Don't be boring. Okay? If you want to get that job, make your presence known. Attention is mentioned. That is very important. When I went to school and I'm walking through the hallways, like I said, I always say this, I'm not just Alex anymore like I used to be. I was Alexander Walker Wisdom. I was the one and only Walker. I was Mr. Walker, and I'll tell you why that is. I was so unlike everybody else. It was like it was almost like pretend like you're in a cafeteria that has so mild food. The food is outrageously mid. And all of a sudden, one day, they've slipped into the crowd a vast, tasty treat of ice cream. Never been there. They will pay attention to that ice cream like white on rice, baby. And once you catch that attention, woo! Man, it ain't about the wind, it's about what you do with the sails, baby. Because once you get that attention, you will be mentioned. That is for sure. That's why I got around. That is why I got all these followers. That's why I influenced so many people. And that is also, above that, that is also why I'm so proud of myself. Because I knew if I was dedicated as a kid, and I knew if I implemented it, I'd get exactly where I wanted. Keep in mind, guys, Project Conquest, this thing that I'm always talking about, isn't something I just came up with now. I've had this plan since a child, and it's worked every step of the way. Now, the destination is always the same, but the direction towards the destination has changed a couple of times. Yes, family comes up. Yes, significant others come up, and things do change. But that does not mean the destination changes, baby. And once you figure out the plans and you put the puzzles together, it's a beautiful picture. Step back. It's one of my older videos. Step back and realize the bigger picture. Understand it. Get that attention. Network. Talk to that employee. Talk to that teacher. Talk to that motivational speaker who comes to your school one day. Oh, I want to be a motivational speaker like that dude. Reach out to me. If you want to be a NASCAR driver. I'm saying all these various things because look, the only thing stopping you from being the best version of yourself is the decisions that you're making. And by lacking in attention, you will never be mentioned. WWE, right? Something everybody loves. The WWE superstars have a fantastic personality. They put it on, they do this, they do that. Now, that might not be them, and I'm not recommending you put on a personality. But what I'm saying is they're so vastly different from the crowd of 1,000 people. That's why you like that character, okay? That's why you like them. Now imagine if you could just be yourself. and get attention and mentioned. You can do that, but you have to work hard. The best investment you can ever make is to yourself. Not in the bank, not nowhere, in yourself. Because only once you invest in yourself will you be able to do all that other stuff that leads up to the good stuff. The stuff that makes you a better person. Understand this, guys. Attention is mentioned. You have to say what you gotta say. You have to do what you gotta do. You gotta be you. Be you. Don't get caught up. Get out there. Start doing that work. Reach out with that email. Okay? You're only on the tip of success. But how will you ever get over and be able to define a new mountain, teach other people, create knowledge if you don't have attention? Nobody pays attention to a nobody. Nobody knows a nobody. That's why we call them a nobody. Now, there was one last lesson I want to teach, and attention is mentioned, and that is this. Just because you have attention does not mean you have to be stupid. I see too many degenerate fools on YouTube, on all these apps. And I can get into them, but I don't want to start internet beef, okay? But there's some stupid kids who were born into rich families who are super young and disrespect their bodyguards and disrespect their fathers and disrespect their girlfriends and disrespect this and disrespect that.
Go. Bruh, look at this dude.
What the hell? Oh my God, no way. Whoa.
What? Little bro, what you gonna do? What you gonna do, little bro? Yeah. Yeah.
They may or may not be called Jack Dorothy. Look, my point is get attention in the right way. If that's the success you want, get success that way, okay? Be careful with what you do. Be careful with what you say. And by the way, no hate said to the people that I'm talking about. Those situations worked out their way. I'm proud of them, okay? I'm proud of the success. I absolutely hate the degeneracy and would knock the hell out of somebody if they continued that. I'm not a fan of that at all. We have too many degenerates, and for you to be teaching children and kids that look up to you to be more degenerate is an absolute fool. And you should know as an influential teacher and the amount of impact that you have a responsibility to teach these people the right thing to do and not lead a miserable generation. So that's the only thing I want to say about that. But remember, attention is mentioned. Do good with it, okay? Do with that what you will, all right? Because look, in order for you to get where you want to be, you have to make sure that you're being the person you have to be. You can't be something if you're not willing to work on yourself to get there. If you don't even notice yourself, how will any company, how will any girl, how will any friend, how will any business reach out to you, notice you? If you don't even notice yourself, how will somebody other than you notice you? Don't be stupid. Remember, a very important lesson is sometimes the most dangerous person in a room is the most quietest. But they know what they're doing. They're smart. It doesn't just mean shut your yap and that's it. Just because they shut the yap doesn't mean that they're not smart. They know what they're doing. They have other ways of getting attention. Okay? Lead a group. Become a leader. Become influential. In order to do that, you have to get attention. Attention is mentioned. And look, in order for you to get anything from this video whatsoever, for you to get the point of attention is mentioned, you must be paying attention. So pay attention to attention is mentioned, and soon enough, you will get that attention. And later on, you will be mentioned. You cannot be great if nobody knows who it is trying to be great. I'll see you guys later.